In 2015, the Serbian president Tomislav Nikolic made a significant and somewhat controversial move by unveiling a statue in Belgrade to honor Gavrilo Princip, declaring him a national hero. Gavrilo Princip is primarily remembered for his role in the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary and his wife, Sophie, an event that had far-reaching consequences in world history. For the Hungarian Empire, the assassination of the crown prince and his wife was an extraordinary and profoundly unsettling event. This was not an ordinary regicide, it was the assassination of the heir to the throne, a man who would become the future emperor of the empire. The shockwaves from this event reverberated throughout Europe and beyond. Adding to the tragedy, the couple left behind 3 children, making them orphaned at the tender age. On July 4, 1914, the last rites and rituals for the royal couple was conducted in Vienna. This somber occasion drew thousands of mourners who came to pay their final respects, reflecting the profound impact of assassination on the Austrian Empire. Subsequently, the coffins containing the Archduke and his wife were transported 122 kilometers away to Arstetten Castle for their burial, marking this incident as an insignificant moment in Austria's history. What makes this tragic event particularly historic in the context of Austria was the involvement of Serbian intelligence in the assassination plot. This added an element of intrigue and foreign influence to the regicide. Austria, in response to this, sought revenge and retribution against Serbia. This desire for vengeance is depicted in a powerful propaganda cartoons from the time. The cartoons show a bomb and a dagger in the hands of Serbia, both of which are being crushed for the formidable Austrian hand. The message is clear. Austria was resolute in its mission, and the caption, "Serbia must die," leaves no room for ambiguity about the prevailing sentiment in Austria. Austria's belligerent stance and the desire to punish Serbia was evident, but despite this menacing posture, Austria struggled to inflict significant harm on Serbia. This was partly because Serbia, while a smaller and seemingly weaker nation, had a powerful friend in Russia. Russia had declared itself the protector of the Orthodox Christian population in Central and Eastern Europe, which included the Balkans, where Serbia is situated. Serbia, being an Orthodox Christian nation, found a natural ally in Russia. The historical ties between these two countries ran deep, as evidenced by Russia's role in liberating Serbia from the Ottoman Empire in 1878. In essence, at that time, there was 2 major defense alliances in Europe. The first was the Triple Entente, consisting of Russia, France, and Britain. The second was the Triple Alliance, which included Austria, Germany, and Italy. These alliances were constructed in a way that made any conflict between 2 countries would draw in all their allies, irrespective of the cause of the conflict. It was a complex military alliance game where the consequences of any war would involve multiple nations. The cartoon mentioned in your text accurately foresaw the potential chain reaction. If the Austria attacked Serbia, Russia would intervene, followed by Germany supporting Austria. Subsequently, France and Britain would align with Russia. The scenario indicated that all the major world powers were aware of any regional conflict could quickly escalate into a global war. In a tragic twist of history, the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his wife ultimately led to the outbreak of World War I. Despite the familial ties between some of the Europe's royal families, such as the British King George, German Emperor Kaiser Wilhelm, Russia ruler Caesar Nicholas, who were cousins. This relationship failed to avert the impending disaster. The Austrian Empire, seeking retribution for the assassination, sought help from the Germany against Serbia. Austria counted on Germany's support with the understanding that if Russia moved to protect Serbia, Germany would stand against it. This assurance satisfied the aging Austrian Empire Franz Joseph I, who was now determined to teach Serbia a lesson. It's important to note that Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the man who was assassinated, was known for his relatively peaceful disposition. He often spoke to the importance of avoiding wars and was sympathetic to the Slavic Serbs and other communities. Under his influence, the parliamentary government under the Austrian Empire had advocated for greater representation for the Slavic population, a stance that was seen as progressive. From this perspective, the Serbs not only killed a crown prince but silenced a voice that might have worked toward preventing the outbreak of the World War and was an advocate for various communities' rights. Unfortunately, the events that unfolded after the assassination of Franz Ferdinand indeed led to the outbreak of World War I. The war itself began with ultimatum and strict warnings. On July 23, 1914, the Austrian foreign minister in Belgrade delivered an ultimatum to his Serbian counterpart. This document documented strict punishment for all those involved in the assassination of the royal couple. It also called for a crackdown on underground movements working against Austria, an end to propaganda against Austria, and action against public servants involved in such propaganda. Additionally, it required that arms supply to Austrian territory be halted. Serbia was given 48 hours to respond to this ultimatum. Alongside the delivery of the ultimatum, Austria initiated war preparation and mobilization. The Austrian military and naval forces were put on alert, and at least three Austrian naval ships took position on the river Danube, a prominent European waterway that flowed from Germany to the Black Sea, passing through Austrian capital Vienna and Serbian capital Belgrade. These ships sailed to the Danube, entered Serbia, and positioned themselves near Belgrade in readiness for potential bombardment. Serbia found itself ill-equipped to deal with this military pressure. Approximately 360,000 Austrian soldiers had gathered at the Serbian border, whereas Serbia had far fewer soldiers, numbering around 20,000 or even less. However, Serbia maintained faith in its ally, Russia, and began recruiting large number of volunteers to bolster its defense. This demonstrated Serbia's determination to resist the Austrian ultimatum and the impending military threat. Despite its readiness to fight, Serbia did not outright reject the Austrian ultimatum. Instead, it provided a response that seemed outwardly positive. Serbia expressed its desire for friendly ties with Austria and its willingness to meet the demands of Austria and Hungary that could help neighboring states restore peace and order. Serbia portrayed itself as a civilized nation that would sincerely took steps to promote good relations with Austria. However, there was critical omission in Serbia's response. It did not commit to the crackdown on the organization and official targeted by Austria. This omission led to Austria rejected Serbia's response and subsequently severing diplomatic ties. This action was a significant turning point, setting in motion a chain of events that would ultimately lead to the eruption of World War I.